I don't want to get political, but there's nothing better than a political government keeping people poor, because then you can control your population. And there's nothing better than keeping women illiterate and, doing things that they don't give them the time
Hmm.
to be included in these voices, right? What you're going to see here is a shift over time. I've seen the changes firsthand.
Fast forward to, let's say, 20 to 50 years from now, and all the problem to accessing water and sanitation has already been resolved, right? How do you envision that future?
Well, anything when we talk about these, when I think about myself as a child, I work with a lot of children. I speak at a lot of schools and universities around the world and here. I'll take a step back that we still need to make sure that the people that might have access to clean water, that might have access to sanitation, these 7.7 billion, but we still need to make sure that they're doing that properly. When my mother taught me to wash my hands before and after, and all of these things, even here in Canada, those things need to be important as we continue the idea of minimization of disease control, right? The spreading of disease. And we're seeing a lot of this during the pandemic, that we're pushing people to do certain things to minimize the effect of transmission of disease. And sometimes there's a pushback. There's like, no, you can't tell me that. Or no, you don't have a right to tell me that. But, at some point, we need to be saying, we need to include that. So I think that's going to be an ongoing thing. And I can see it, what's going on with the pandemic, education and practices, and all of those things that need to continue, even if all of these issues were solved. But I think we're going to see a shift in leadership across the world. When I think about the country of Rwanda that I have projects just working in, we're seeing a lot of women become leaders across different platforms of government and influence. I love working with women. I believe women have a voice within this in this conversation with us men, right? They bring a balance to us that needs to be included. We need to see young girls that have been abused and girls that have not been educated. Now, we're going to see them rise up and have a place and a voice within society, so that the issues of women are going to become common now. It's not going to be like, oh, these things around sexually assault or all of these things are not going to be like, oh, as these things start to change, we're going to be seeing some of these issues bubble up, which are wonderful and being led by strong women. Also, men need to be also strong leaders standing with these issues, right? So,
Absolutely.
When we see some of these issues solved, let's talk about some of the health clinics that I work in hospitals. A lot of the people that walk in there who are impoverished, that don't have a lot of money, they take the little bit of money that they have, and they said, "I'm going to buy some medicine." Right? And then they end up at the hospital hoping to get looked at by a doctor. And these are from things that we would say are common from that we don't have to deal with, right? From things, waterborne disease and all of those different things, dehydration. So those things, imagine the stresses that are on medical clinics and hospitals across the developing world in poor countries. Those are going to start to decrease, right? So those are going to start to decrease because of the issues around water and sanitation are starting to be solved. So the issues of children dying of dehydration, all of those things with diarrhea, all of those things with waterborne disease that are a huge issue on our lifespan and our health, are now going to start to decrease, right? So our health is going to get better, and you can see, people are living longer in developed countries. Sure. People are, we just celebrated yesterday my aunt's 90th birthday, right? When I was a child, I don't even know if I knew anybody who was 90, right?
Happy birthday to her.
So we are progressing, and you can see the progression of when you start to look at issues of water and sanitation.
Hmm.
Our longevity of life has increased, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we are going to have people that are better skilled. We're going to have people that have better knowledge. We're going to have people that are going to be able to take care of themselves better. We're going to have people that are going to give more to society, and we're going to see the advancement of humanity at a steeper rate. And to me, that's kind of where we want to get to. Take
Right.
those small steps. Take those small steps, and we're going to see that. And that's why it's important. These fundamental issues of water and sanitation are important to address, because we need to see rural communities, families, countries. We need to see the movement towards the betterment of that, right? And suppression, right? There's nothing, I don't want to get political, but there's nothing better than a political government keeping people poor, because then you can control your population. And there's nothing better than keeping women illiterate and doing things that they don't give them the time to be included in these voices, right? In these conversations. So what you're going to see here is a shift over time. So in the 13 years I've been involved in just H2O for All, I've seen the changes firsthand. I can talk about that firsthand. I've seen, young boys, young girls who have been now going to school. I've seen communities change. Like I've seen it in front of my eyes, and it's it's really a wonderful experience and a driving force for me to continue to push, for me to continue to speak to leaders and people to say, you know what, you want to affect change. First, you got to really look at who the stakeholders and people you want to create change with,
Right.
and that's really important. So we're moving in a direction that is good, but we need to focus on how we're doing it and what we're doing from a translation. For every dollar given, and I challenge people when I speak across the world, challenge me on what your dollar is going to do, right? What's that translation of a dollar going to do from the translation of helping people? And really, that's what I see of where we're going, and affecting change. When I'm a technology guy or a person that develops best practices, protocols, or ideas, those are going to be beyond me. And I think when we think about leadership or we think about development of things, we need to say, well, let's think about it beyond us. And how do we think about that? Developing practices or ways of approaching things, or our approach of leadership goes beyond us, because it then becomes modeled. It then becomes repeated. It then becomes, there becomes a ripple effect that whatever you've decided, Jeffrey, on your approach and the way you've seen it can now be modeled by 10 people, 100 people, and 1,000 people. And I think that's where we need to say, our voice in this can have exponential impact, because it's just not me.
Right.
It's just not me. It's also taking some of those things that we want to create in terms of how we assess, how we include, how we determine the determinants of health, how we make, as an engineer, how we create solutions, and then say, this is the framework. Now, let's hand that off to somebody in a different country. Right? Let's model that somewhere else. And I think that's the power of leadership and good leadership, is to say, let's think forward thinking, futuristic thinking, and creating some of those frameworks. And I think we're going to win that way.
I love that approach. It's definitely shows scalability and sustainability for the future.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So there you go, guys. We have this organization, H2O for All, a great leadership that talks about really connecting with the people that they're helping, bringing them in the conversation, listening to them, and making a difference in their lives, trying to really change their narrative, and building that or removing that gap between, the imbalance between poor countries and wealthy countries, and having that balance that people can also live the same life that we're living in North America or wealthy countries. And we see a leader that has a great vision for the future, that it's going to be a better story for women, men, and young children, young girls in the future, where they can have a better life, tell their story in a better way. But yeah, let's help H2O for All. Let's help Tim Muttoo. Tim, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
I'd love for anyone who wants to contact me. You can do it through our website, h2oforall.org. There's a contact link there. You can hit me up on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn, and you can find me there. But I'd love if you want to connect with me, learn about what we're doing, and share some of these stories of doing this together, right? And this is a story about how to do this together, right? And the more we can do things together, we're going to affect a lot of positive change.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim. Let us know, guys, what you think about this message. Please message us, contact Tim. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Tim. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.